All right, it seems that we are back there, viewers. Sorry about this connection, V connection, internet flying to Mars, etc. These things have been haunting us here since day one. I don't know what's to blame for, but nobody really knows. So I hope that this never again happens. Again, I hope you were not too much in distress during this waiting time. This time, the outage of the internet lasted just only something like 5-7 minutes. So we are back. We are ready to show you the games and pray that we still remain here and without disconnections coming in the future. So let's just go back, Angelica, right? Let's go back to the
let's
game.
go back where we left it. We didn't really leave it, but the internet decided for us.
That's right. So I think this camera also is going to pop up at some moment because everything is, it's actually unbelievable, right? Everything nowadays is so reliable to internet. Even worse, the electricity. You remove electricity, nothing works.
Oh my God.
Nothing even is happening. Okay. After short castle, I think we were lost here when I was explaining the thought process of the players, and about here we lost the connection. So, Black castle short, and his idea is that he decided not to take on e2 because this would force the black king to remain in the center. That idea is understandable. And this is also the reason why white takes on d3 right now. He takes on d3, queen a5. So I guess black is attacking the knight on c3. But to be honest, Angelica, I'm not even sure if that is a real threat. Okay, so knight e4 was played, right? So knight e4, knight e4, knight e4, d5. All of this was played in the game. But I'm not so sure if this bishop takes on c3 is something that white should be even super concerned about. Because we have seen how the games are played at GMT, sacrificing pawns left and right. Just get a better initiative. So after knight f3, for example, here, I don't think that bishop takes on c3 even is such a great idea. Because
let's try to see.
Takes, and think about simple moves like rook b1, bishop b2. I think that with such a bad development for black, I don't think he can do this. Right? This looks very dangerous, and every experienced player immediately is going to agree, no, this is not how you play chess at all. But actually, maybe the idea is even deeper. Because after knight f3, who said that black has to take? Who said that black has to take on c3? So he could continue with d5. And perhaps this is what the Chinese grandmaster didn't like. I don't think he was really concerned about this bishop takes on c3. There was something perhaps about this position where he felt that the knight on f3 is not really so well positioned.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe this was an idea because after a few moves, for example, something like bishop g4 or something like this, then black already could threaten to take that knight on c3 once the development would be finished, for example. But yeah, I think that this was not really a big threat, but he wanted to address this d5 rather.
So knight e4 was played, knight e4, d5. I think that black needs to be a bit careful because he is still slightly underdeveloped. And obviously, more moves have been already played in the game. But if I was playing with white, I would be thinking, how do I exploit my minor lead in development? Because you see, this knight on b8 and the bishop on c8 are underdeveloped. So I would be thinking about moves like knight g5, queen h5, bishop f4, do it as quickly as possible, maybe include c takes on d5 at some point. Difficult really to tell. But I'm not even sure if this queen b6 was such a great idea, but perhaps the idea of queen a5 actually was not even so much attacking this pawn on c3, but prepared to play d5.
Maybe to play a3 also. a3, knight b3.
a3, again, I don't think that's a big threat, right? Even here, let's say knight f3, a3. So what? I just play something like queen c2, you take on b2, you activate my bishop. And incidentally, by the way, also mind a little thing, this pawn is under attack. So I think we also have to mention that white can take it. So queen a5 serves two purposes: protect the pawn, and I guess play d5.
So maybe that was one of the ideas, so just to protect and at some moment maybe threaten this bishop c3, not in this position, but potentially, and of course support the d5 pawn. So three ideas in one.
Right.
And
By the way, compared with the GMT tournament in MTO, the players have slightly smaller time control. It's not 2 hours for 40, 1 hour for 20. If I'm not terribly mistaken, I think it was 1 hour 40 for 40 minutes and then 50 minutes for 20 moves. It was smaller. And normally MTO would finish earlier before the GMT because the GMT, when we had them still here, they were playing until the late evening almost. And MTO almost always were already finished because they simply have a short time control.
I remember only one game was lasted very, very long, till around 10 p.m. I mean, this was crazy in MTO.
Right.
Some end game.
Okay, let's maybe go back to the leader fight because we sort of looked at them in the very beginning. We saw some early moves, then you mentioned that White already had resigned on board 3, so we had to see. Okay, let's go back to the leaderboard.
Let's go back indeed for on the first to the first board.
All right, it's slightly zoomed in. I think I can zoom out. Just a second. Yeah, camera is coming back. No worries. So, what are the moves?
So I think we didn't even start talking. I think we were just at move 2 or something. So we didn't even discuss the opening at all. So it looks like it was London.
I'm not even sure what is this. Chesscom software says Indian game.
Wow.
Okay, if you say so. But I think one of the big ideas of C3 is that White Kid tries to avoid big theory. He knows he's playing against Buksanji, his famous countryman, well experienced. He's been to 27 Hungary Elo, over 2650 for a long time. And the big idea, I guess, is to meet C5 with d-takes and C5. And sometimes, White gets similar positions that normally Black is striving for, but this extra tempo somehow helps White. For example, here Black would play something like E6, B4, A5, A3, and this extra tempo sometimes is good for you, right? So if Black can play this, White can play this for the extra tempo definitely as well.
Absolutely. It's like Slav, yeah.
Right, exactly. So C3, G6, I guess just to get a fight. H3 is a pretty common move. So as you can see, not only Dingler plays fourth move H3, it's also Joaquin Peng who does it. Because this famous game, one of the World Championship matches game, Dingler against Jan Nepomniachtchi, early in the opening, Dingler played H3, clearly shocking his opponent, and there are multiple ways to continue. But here, H3 actually makes a bit more sense. As Angelica already said, it's heading to London. And the big idea is that after Bishop F4, which maybe for some would be the obvious choice, Black sometimes plays Knight H5. And I don't think that White is really happy about this. Because Black gets two bishops, he can play C5, Knight C6, E5, E6, whatever. And this bishop on G7, when the position opens, essentially White can't really fight against because White is missing the dark square bishop, right? Which could potentially fight for these dark squares.
Yeah, that's why H3 a prophylactical move was played in order to have this square on H3 or H2 for the bishop. So we see on the board H3 was played.
I also wanted to continue here that after bishop F4, Knight H5, sometimes White includes moves like bishop E5, provokes some weaknesses, or include bishop G5. H6, bishop H4, G5, bishop G3, and then Black again takes on G3 and plays bishop G7. And the big question is, does this favor White or Black, right? Because again, there's some pros and cons. Black sometimes tries to play G4, sometimes this F5 square is weak. But anyway, it did not happen because White played H3, as Angelica already said. The point is to prepare H2 square as an escape route for the bishop.
Yes, indeed, that bishop is very, very important in the diagonal. So here Black went for not C5, but bishop G7. Okay.
Yeah, it
bishop
makes
F4,
sense first. I'm a big fan, Angelica, of doing these quick castles as quickly as possible because I'm a big believer of the so-called universal moves, meaning you try to make the moves which you know for sure are necessary in this position and gather as much information you can from your opponent. Short castle here, you're definitely going to play, right? Bishop G7, you're definitely going to play. And that's what makes really a good strategy because let's say your opponent from White suddenly he starts with some weirdness. Let's say he starts, I don't know, let's say he decides to play, for some reason, c4. And now you're not going to play in the same manner as you would normally play because this changes the structure. So now you'll be thinking for a more direct approach. Okay. e3, c5, knight e2, b6.
So why decided not to take on c5? There was an opportunity, yeah?
Actually, yeah, that's a fair question. I guess d takes on c4, black can play knight e4, at least, if not something else. Attack the pawn. b4 just drops something. So probably not very good idea for white. And if white allows to take this pawn back, the big question is why did you include d takes on c5 in the first place? Because this just scans the center on the platter for black.
So
knight e2.
knight e2 was played, and now there was a threat already to take on c5, because knight could jump to b3 to protect, for example, and that's why b6 was included. So most likely we're going to see the other bishop being fianchetted.
I mean, it's a multi-purpose move, and probably one of the ideas why black played b6 is to protect the pawn on c5. But I'm not really sure what Buksanji has prepared, because often in these positions, b6 is prepared to play bishop a6. Because let's say white plays bishop d3. Now we have almost a classical London setup. Black plays bishop a6, kills this bishop, and then presumably white cannot easier build this kingside attack. But I think this applies to a different structure, because if you stay with me, let me just go back here, all the way here. Let's say white will play e6. Bishop f4, bishop e7, pardon me for the order of the moves. e3, b6, knight e2, whatever. c5, bishop d3, bishop a6. So this bishop here on d3, with this pawn structure, is instrumental to start the kingside attack. Because white, let's say, sometimes plays knight e5, bishop g5, f4, and this bishop here is causing a lot of problems. So that's why here in this position, black often plays bishop a6 to trade this attacking piece, right? Which could cause you some problems, some uncomfortable feelings to the king side. But now that I see this position, what we have on the board, I have doubts. You know, is this bishop a6 even necessary? Because once again, let's say bishop d3, is it really looking at this attack?
That's a big question, because, yeah, the pawns are basically blocking that bishop. And I was thinking, if you want to delay bishop d3, so if really black in K wants to play bishop a6, so you can take it in one move, to play something like rook c1?
That's a good question, Angelica. Is rook c1 a good move? What's the delay move, right? It's not so easy. Or knight e5, maybe.
Or knight e5, yeah.
Maybe there is a delay, but then again, black can also toy a5. I can also toy with moves. So
We can play around, yeah.
this cat and mouse approach sometimes indeed works. Here, I'm not even sure black indeed wants to play bishop a6, and after bishop d3, I do believe that Buksanji's idea is actually to position bishop on b7, and if I see correctly the live board, which is 30 minutes ahead, he has the bishop on b7. So let's say bishop d3, bishop b7, and black essentially says, my bishop on b7 is not a worse piece than your bishop on d3, because now I have knight e4 in some lines.
Because, okay, maybe you're right. I just didn't want to give the stamp of his bishop a6. So maybe then bishop e2. The idea is that we can castle right after it.
I mean, there's some nuances. You know, I can make a comparison with the French, because in the French line, let me try to recall. e4, e6, what was the line? d3, d5, knight d2, knight f6, knight f3 here, 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 here. Even here, white sometimes allows black to play bishop a6 and plays bishop d3 anyway, and after bishop a6 takes on a6. And after knight a6 says, okay, I lost the tempo, but so what, right? I mean, it was a decent trade. Your knight on a6 is not so well, and proceeds with knight f1, knight g3, or short castle, etc. So it's more or less the same idea. And you see, okay, it's not really so different. because here the pawn is on e3, in the French defense, the pawn is on e5, the bishop goes to d3. So I can easily imagine, White also accepting, okay, you play your bishop a6, fine, a big deal. So after trade here, the knight on a6 is doing nothing, and in order to put it back, it's still going to cost you time, because knight c7, knight e6, I'm not really sure this is such a great square for the knight.
And if you look at this position, the bishop on g7 is not really a great piece because it's facing this pawn chain, the b2, c3, d4. And yeah, I think you're right that the trade of the bishop is on hand of white.
That's right. So let's maybe select another game because there's a couple of more of them. We have camera feed to the first 4. Technically, I can also zoom in to the other boards. We haven't yet tested it, but we'll see. All right, let's select board number 2, where the other leader of the tournament, okay, technically it's not a leader, but one of the leaders, Aryan Chopra, is facing his countryman, Biel. Actually, it's derby, basically, in the top 2 boards, right? I think you already said this.
Yes.
2 Chinese players are playing on board 1, and 2 Indian players are playing on board 2.
Exactly. And actually, the board we checked, number 3 is also 6.5 points, so that's why they're kind of also there in the top. But yeah, here we have, wow, already so much happened. This is wild.
This is not gonna be a peaceful game.
Oh my God, I feel like.
That's a slugfest.
Oh my God.
I mean, okay, maybe it's gonna wind down, but this feels like the players are having too much fun. Okay. Let's go through it and see.
I think Aryan has too much time, too much fun.
Maybe it was black. Who knows? Because these players are playing well. Also, by the way, what makes it amazing about Indian players is that the ratings don't matter.
Yeah.
And we have discussed this a couple of times. For example, Chopra might seem to you big favorite. He's 26. His opponent is 24, 150 points lower. But black, you think normally this is giving white a big edge. No, absolutely not, because Indian players have a lot of underrated players, and they haven't had chance of playing many international tournaments. So Chopra is used to play international tournaments. Perhaps his opponent is not, right? So I've seen this happen many times. There's a young Indian player, he has, let's say, ELO 24. A year later, he's 26.
It's absolutely possible. There have been many 2,000, 2,200s who are beating the grandmasters in European tournaments just simply because they're playing against each other. They're in India and they're all strong, and they cannot reach that rating. But once they come to Europe, they're coming to gain some rating points.
Indeed.
Okay, so it's Sicilian.
Yeah, that already is, let's have a fight. A6, Najdorf. This is quite a common situation in open tournaments because the players, they're used to fight until the end. Final round very often is the moment when you want to fight for a better prize. Sometimes playing a draw is not a good result, because if we once again would remind your viewers what are the prizes in the overall tournament, there's basically prize for top 8, and there's a lot of players. And the difference between a prize, it could be very big. Let's say you play for a draw, you play it safe, and you get your, 1,000 Swiss francs. But if you fight for a little bit more, you're ambitious and you win. You could win, let's say, 5,000. So it's a big difference, right? So that's why, of course, there are players who are taking it safe in the final round, but then when there are not so many prizes, it makes sense, really go all in and hope you're going to take down one of the best prizes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also for the top players who are right now in the top, so having, for example, the 6.5 points, they, for example, if they lose, someone from below can overtake them because they're going to win the game, and they will have 7 points. So nothing is clear here, and all players are playing risk for the risks here.
All right, the English attack, H5. Who even brought this to the highest level? Maybe it was Topalov, because I still remember when Veselin Topalov was the world champion, he was actively playing this idea. So the H5 idea, it's been around for, well, when Topalov was the world champion, it's already been more than 10 years. The idea is to stop G4, G5. G4, G5, H4, bishop H3, white gains space advantage. There is such a line. But H5 stops this idea, because if white really insists on this and plays something so slowly as g3, h3, g4, it's simply not going to work.
Yeah.
So there's knight e5, one of the common themes of this opening. There's bishop takes, knight takes. I have no idea which is better, according to the modern theory. Bishop e2, a5, yeah, another very sharp continuation. Black tries to disrupt white's piece coordination.
A4,
Yeah, knight
-7.
e7. I mean, it's a very difficult to evaluate position if you are not familiar with this, because, I mean, black weakens squares. He weakens the b5 square. But instead, he gains something in return. For example, after a4, sometimes black plays b6, knight c5, and this knight on b3 is not so well positioned anymore.
And then it has to remaneuver somewhere on b5 square, for example.
Right. f4, attacking the pawn on h5. Yeah, actually, this is quite an oddity, you know. I mean, black castles short after playing h5. Maybe for a club level player, this is insane. That's how they play it at the pro level. Bishop f4, attack the pawn on c2, looks pretty dynamic. c3, knight f6. I think that usually black tries to put the knight on e5, knight f6. Not so much, but there's nothing wrong.
Maybe. But do you put the knight on e5 immediately? Because you have to prepare it, no?
No, I mean, here, of course, it's a blunder, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've dropped the bishop. But what I'm saying is that normally what black is trying to achieve is ideally put the bishop on g7 and put the knight on e5. If he gets to do this, he is a happy person. But, of course,
Yeah,
it's easier
there are
said than
some
done.
problems.
Okay, the game is very concrete. Knight f6, bishop e3, bishop e4, attacking the pawn on d5. So white just sacrifices a pawn, just like that. Knight e7 goes back. So he is thinking about this idea to put the knight on e5. Here, bishop g5, activating the bishop. Taking the pawn here, taking the pawn here. Wait, what?
Cool.
Queen f5, bishop d7.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Bishop f6, not the move I would expect because the pawn on h5 is ganging. White took it.
Queen h5, attacking the bishop on d5.
Take. Knight e5.
Oh my god, all pieces are hanging. This is crazy.
Okay, but white is still up something. Okay, knight e5, that's a mystery to me, Angelica. Why? Because black also has some pieces hanging, right? Yeah, I see the word in the chat. All of this has been played before. Maybe, but if I would have to explain it in a human language, what is this? Knight f6, I see it's rook f6, queen f6, and queen d5. So much I can figure it out. White has two minor pieces, but he's very happy. Why not some other move? Okay, who knows? Knight e5, fine. D takes on e5. Okay, rook c2 first. Not taking the knight. Rook f2. I guess black plays not queen b6 because then he's down a piece. Probably he takes it and plays something like queen a5. I'm pretty sure what the engine is going to say here, although we don't see. It's somehow giving white a very small, tiny edge. I know how it works. Take it. This looks dangerous. There's queen b6 check. The king has no good squares to go. King f1. Probably queen d6, and somehow this is equal.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think you have to take the pawn, but because
No?
you have, but then king will escape. Yeah.
What else do you want to suggest? I want to play d7. Of course, I would love to activate the rook. Maybe it is. Wait, the bishop is also under attack.
Yeah, there are some problems.
Anyway, it seems indeed the players are in the prep. I see the position has advanced further where white has kept his extra pawn.
Yeah.
But that's for the half an hour ahead.
Yeah, we are not looking in the future. We're
Yeah.
still in the past.
So we have a camera feed which is live right
Yeah.
now, and we have the actual position in the analysis that is coming with a 30-minute delay due to the safety concern, so that nobody decides to consult with illegal assistance when nobody's around. All right, there's one more game played on the stage because the first 4 boards from MTO, they were moved to the stage. And that is one of the high-seeded players of the MTO, and Nguyen got trunks on against Wantika Agrawal. Maybe let's jump to that game. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So we have our seed number 2 of the tournament, Vietnamese Grandmaster Nguyen, playing against the Indian women Grandmaster. We have, I think, once during the commentary of the Grandmaster Triathlon, we even checked one of her games, which she was playing very nicely. She won against some Grandmaster, yeah, I believe. On board,
Yeah, from China, I think. I don't remember his name, but she
try.
played a very good game in the Catalan. This I remember. I mean, really impressive game. All right. Only 11 moves have been played here, but obviously we don't get the feed from the last 30 minutes. Najdorf, of course, again, final round. Knight c3, a6. You go all in, so to speak. g3. For Nguyen got trunks on, the second seeded player. I'm not really sure the tournament has been working for him so well, because he lost a principal fight against the eventual leader of the tournament, Buksanji. They met together. Which round was this? I already don't remember. Round
6, yeah.
6, yeah? They had this drawn endgame, all had heavy pieces, completely symmetrical pawn structure, and this is where the Chinese Grandmaster showed some Capablanca-like technique. I was so impressed.
Sorry, it was round 7, but okay.
Yeah, how do you outplay your opponent of your strength on equal terms, just like that? That was very, very impressive. So in case you want to see how to create some problems for Black, check out this game. Maybe I'll have the time. I'll once again bring it on the screen. So, and then I remember that also the Vietnamese Grandmaster played a couple of draws against lower-rated opponents. I think he probably has lost some rating right now, right? And not really is in the contention to fight for top 3, is he now?
His Song Nguyen has right now 6 points.
Right. 6 points out of 9. G3, 5. G3 is a sideline, a quiet continuation. Knight B3, Bishop G5. That looks... Okay, what is this? Just a second. Because initially when I saw this position, Angelika, I thought this is Sveshnikov, Sicilian Sveshnikov. And they got here from Najdorf. I don't think I've seen this one before. Once again. Okay, G3 I know. And the idea normally white wants to play Bishop G2, castle, sometimes A4, A5, Bishop B3, play positional. Now he included Bishop G5. And there's a trick actually. I'm not really sure about this particular position, but of course Bishop G5 is a threat to take on F6. But there's a greater idea. And from at least what I understand, if Black plays Knight E7 to fight for the D5 square, so that after you take on F6, I can take the Knight. The key is that White plays often A4. And now Black sort of regrets having put the Knight on D7, because if it would go back here, White will play A4. Black often tries to play Knight C6, put the Knight on B4, and then the Knight on B4 stands really nicely. It attacks the pawn on C2. Black is thinking about all kinds of Bishop E6, D5 ideas, and there's a very, very interesting counterplay.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a very, very smart order of the moves, right? First, try to provoke Black to play Knight E7, then play A4, and if Black insists on you taking F6, now go back. And I don't think that Black is going to be in the mood to insist on this knight b8, knight c6, knight b4 because he simply loses time.
Yeah, he loses time and he's underdeveloped. As we can see, white is very, very close to develop the bishop and castle, and while black still has some issues. So that's why bishop g5, a very nice move, very nice idea. But that was not working. I mean, didn't work for black. She played bishop e6. She's saying, I'm not going to fall into your trap. But now the problem is what happens after bishop takes f6.
Right, so white took at f6 because also black is toying with ideas. Black waits for a4 so that she can play knight c6, knight b4. Also, maybe in some lines, thinking about knight e7. And that's why here the Vietnamese grandmaster felt, okay, this is the right moment to take on f6, take it, and instead of the automatic bishop g2, look at this. This is a typical idea from the Sveshnikov, h4. Threaten to play bishop h3, trade the bishops. At least in the Sveshnikov, this idea is not very dangerous as far as I remember. But here we have slightly something else. And now look at this. He again changes his mind. He doesn't play bishop h3. He starts with queen d2. Really, really trying to confuse his opponent.
Indeed. Trying to confuse, but will she be confused?
I don't know. Actually, I see already the pawn is on d4. That's probably also means that black played knight c6, knight e4. Something like I was thinking about knight c6, long castle, knight e4, knight e4, e takes on d4, and get some decent activity. Perhaps why Nguyen Trongson did this, not rushing with bishop h3, in some lines he is hoping to provoke black to choose between this knight c6, knight e7, and based on what black chooses, he might still not play bishop h3 and do something else. Again, this is how top-level players are playing all the time right now. They're not just playing out the straightforward moves, but they're always looking for these nuances,
tricks. Yeah.
Order the moves. They're really good at this.
This is absolutely incredible. We have seen so much of this in the Grandmaster Triathlon. Obviously, in Masters Tournament, the top boards, there is also very, very strong level of chess being shown. And we can see how players are using this fact. They're trying not to show all the cards, but they want the opponent rather to show them what they want. And according to those what opponent is playing, then they're going to continue regarding that way.
All right. So what else? I think we can continue to observe the game. So my suggestion, Angelika, is we continue to check what's happening in top 10, like make a roundup. And I'll try to get the feed of the camera. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Just give me a minute, okay? I'll try to move the camera from board number 1 because it's the closest one. So, I mean, it was a bit difficult to rearrange the cameras from yesterday because GMT tournament is finished. We have some cameras and everything is so nicely installed. Unfortunately, we could not physically move them as we would like. But maybe I can zoom in out this camera and show you what's happening. Just a sec, let me see if that works. So, sorry guys. Whoa, okay. Aha, so it does work.
Yeah, and we see here the other top boards.
Okay. I think this should be board number 4 because I walked down today and I checked. Yeah, I think that's board number 4. Let me try to zoom in. The
No,
break brother,
you mean
break
5.
brother is watching you.
You mean 5, yeah? Board number 5.
I'm sorry, yeah. 5.
Yeah, I can completely confirm because that's the player who was on the interview for the Beauty Awards here with us. It's Riyad Samadov from Azerbaijan. He played a very beautiful game in the other round. I think it was round 8.
Right.
And
unfortunately, we are going to see only the back of the other player playing with white, unless he's going to always be looking backwards. There's nothing we can do. All right. So let's see what happened here in this game. How many knight ors do we have already in the last round here?
Incredible.
And it's like some conspiracy. Everybody
Yes.
understands that they have to get a big fight here. Okay, H3. Yes, of course, H3. I mean, one of the deadliest weapons against the Sicilian Night Dwarf. I mean, the idea is to reinforce the idea of G4, the Keras attack. And talking about the classical ideas, let's say bishop E3, E6, the Scheveningen line, or E6 immediately, let's say here. Scheveningen basically at a good level has become extinct. You know what's the reason? The reason is the Keras attack. Maybe not immediately like G4 right now, or use this idea G4 to play at some point later. And this idea is so strong, either G5, H4, or F4 gains space, that black is simply trying not to get there. And that's why white is playing H3. I mean, he sort of wants to get the same idea, even if this costs white a tempo.
Okay, so E5 was played, so now
Yeah, but now it's something else. Yeah, there's many
Now
moves. Knight
it's-
F3, Knight B3, Knight E2.
now G4 is
Okay,
still
but this
played.
this I don't recall. This is something
Wait a
interesting.
second. So already after E5?
What?
After E5, this G4.
Right. The idea is again insist on
Yeah.
G5, fight for the D5 square. Black plays H6, white plays Rook G1.
It's fun. I like
I
it.
mean, even here, white plays Rook G1. That's also a move.
Yeah.
And it has been tested. The idea is the same. G4, G5. Again, try to get this Keras attack.
I mean, this G4 idea in many, many openings have been tested around. Immediate also G4 sometimes when the knight has to take, and then trying to use this to try to expose this file as a G file. But yeah, this is really nice
I'm
idea.
pretty sure somebody even has played G4 right away.
Yes.
Although this costs a pawn, and from a practical perspective, doesn't make a lot of sense because a pawn is a pawn. I'm pretty sure somebody even has played this because I think we discussed it already, Angelica. Lucas von Forest once was very happy that
yes.
he picked up this bishop d2, which he claimed it was a novelty. No, it was not a novelty, but all the legal moves here basically have been
Yes.
played. All of them. I really mean all. Even b4 has been played. I mean, all of the moves. It's like a small joke already, right? That the players get to this position, and now they try to find everything which is not yet explored.
No, but it's so hard. It's so hard to find because there's almost nothing. So H3, 5,
All right,
knight
e5.
F3, and this G4, yeah. And Rook G1. G5 wants to be pushed, so how do you stop it?
I'm not sure that's so obvious choice
G5?
because, I mean, black pretty much says, I'm never going to castle short again. Maybe he's not going to do it anyway, but was G4, G5 such a big threat, even? Probably this is still theory, right? Because even, let's say, after bishop e6, things are not very clear to me. Is this even such a big threat? H takes, knight G5. Maybe it is, actually. You know, I protect this pawn, I attack here, I have some activity, some queen f3, queen e2, long castle.
But maybe you could react on G4, like with something like knight H7. No, on after G4.
Here,
Yes.
you like this knight?
Yeah, but it will come to G5.
I don't know. I mean, knight e5, bishop e3
Yeah, maybe it's.
looks strange, but I'm not going to argue, of course. All right, anyway, g5 was played. Knight d2, okay. Knight c4, knight e3, fighting for the weekend d5 and f5 squares. Knight e7, knight c4, knight c5. That's the position that was half an hour ago.
And yeah, most likely there should be some protection of the pawn on e4, right? So that's so like.
I'm not really sure about Ryad Samadov. I don't know him so well, but Anand Pranav, he shares the famous name of his most famous chess player from India, Vishwanathan Anand, of course. And was he the one who was the former world youth champion? Because there were two of them. I'm not even sure who is who, because there were two very similar players. But either way, I mean, one of the Indian young talents here, right? And
Yeah,
right now he has
absolutely.
2,500. Watch out for him in a year. Pretty sure he's going to already be playing at 26. Very interesting dynamic idea. Queen f3, I guess, bishop e3, long castle. Makes sense here. The queen on f3 feels pretty well, unless white wants to sacrifice this pawn. No, but I see already on the live board white has the knight on f5, white has the knight on d5. So this means knight e3, knight f5, knight e5 at some stage was played.
Yeah, maybe bishop g2 protecting the pawn on e4.
It looks strange because I'm not sure I like the bishop staring at the pawn, but then again, it's doing more than this. So it's also looking at
Yes.
the pawn on the square on d5.
You're also controlling the square, and potentially there is knight jump, yeah, which you should always check, and knight e3, and then
Yeah, I guess so. Knight e3, knight f5, knight e5. Queen still stands on d1. Oh no, queen still stands on d1. So they're about here. So from what I can tell, it was something like bishop e6, knight a3, rook c8, a3. What do they have? Queen
queen
something
c7.
here, and it's something like this on the board.
Yeah, we're not going to comment on it.
No. So that's something like this right now.
No comments.
Yeah, because the games are once again coming in with a delay for security reasons. Okay, let's move on. Very interesting game. We definitely want to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Game number 6 perhaps. Huang Renji playing against Aditya Samant.
yeah, in case we don't have any development in the first boards, but if we have something, then we could jump in, because I think that game on the board number 2 of Aryan Chopra looks very, very sharp.
Okay, we see
Some spectator.
a spectator really taking interest in this game. All right, if I could only zoom in. Perfect. Actually, this works really
Yeah.
nicely. Okay, what do we have here? Guess what? Knight with g4. But this time it's e6, actually.
Wait, it's
So how many games was it? Just a second. Let me make a roundup. First game, not Najdorf. Second game, Najdorf. Third game, not Najdorf. Fourth game, Najdorf. Fifth game, Najdorf. Sixth game, Najdorf. So from the first 6 games, 4 in Najdorfs.
incredible. This is just incredible.
Oh, wait. Now it switches to the knight c6 browser, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's still a possibility.
but still Sicilian.
Still Sicilian, bishop c4, queen b6. Yeah, browser is not very popular today. I don't know why. I mean, okay, somebody's going to object maybe. But Najdorf is much more popular, obviously. Queen b6. So white tries to ask some questions. Knight c6, b takes. This is normally what white doesn't want to do because it gives the center
Yeah.
for black.
So that's why knight b3,
Knight b3 retreat.
e6.
Bishop f4. Yeah, you know, actually, one of the things which I would definitely recommend you, dear viewers, about learning all kinds of offbeat Sicilians. This queen b6, this is really smart stuff because it exists in a lot of lines. So let me just show you the most basic idea. Let's say you play knight c6, and after d4, c takes knight d4, there's queen b6. Okay, engines, they're going to hate it, right, for reasons obvious. You can't move the queen so early, it's bad, etc. But if you would follow me with the idea of queen b6 is to push away the knight from the center, because this is open Sicilian. And in open Sicilian, the knight on d4 often does a lot of bad things to black. Yeah, knight f5, knight b5, etc. So you attack the knight. White is still not interested to take on c6 for the same reason. B takes on c6, opens the b file, takes the center. So white plays normally knight b3. So we get something normal, e6, etc. And then black plays queen c7, a move he would normally play some Sicilian Termanov, but the knight is on b3. not on d4, and resumes to play a normal Sicilian. Actually, this is really smart. So you would have to know quite a bit from the white's perspective to somehow punish this.
So,
But I'm not sure about this position here.
I mean, obviously, black doesn't want the knight there on d4. But the question here is if you can... so if bishop e3, there is knight g4. That's a problem.
Bishop e3, but
Yeah,
what about the
knight.
pawn on b2? It's also there. Yeah, there is knight g4. Knight g4, knight e5. I think in general, you don't want to allow this, right?
Yeah.
This structure is very bad.
Yeah.
The Daxwa bishop is very important.
And also on top of it, sometimes queen b2 can be an idea. So that's
Right.
why. So that's why knight has to be removed.
Yeah, now we get to something very similar, right? I mean, black is thinking about queen c7, a6, b5, and exploit the fact that the knight is on b3.
Yes.
Knight e5. This opens the bishops. Not very good.
So now bishop has to remove queen e2, bishop e2, bishop d7, and
Some
g4.
sort of counter attack again.
Wait a second. So we have already g4 in 2 games.
Right. It's
But
typical.
if h6, there could be g5 immediate.
h6 actually is on the board.
H6 on the board, yeah.
Yeah, and I see on the live feed that black has also played g5 at some point. Yeah, also this idea becomes available to play g5.
So now the question is what happens after g5 of white? h6, g5. And you are saying that there is nothing?
No,
I mean,
I'm
there is-
not saying that. It's just it's tricky to evaluate because normally when you look at this position with naked eyes, you see that white has a worse pawn structure. The pawn on h2 is weak. The rook on h8 is strong. The knight on f6 feels well. But it's more than this. And white often plays queen d2, f4, h4, long castle, and this weak pawn doesn't even feel. I mean, g5 is perfectly playable. Anyway, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. We see some other moves we are not going to discuss.
Right.
But yeah, indeed, a lot of action is happening in Master Tournament overall. We see last round and final round is very, very important for the players to secure the top 8 places. And yeah.
I'm a bit curious how did they go to that position because if I see correctly,
I think g5 was played and then maybe some bishop e3, f4.
right, but the knight is also on e5, so there's no pawn on h6. So they got somehow here. Bishop e3, g5.
Yes. No, not possible because queen is hanging.
But yeah, I just
Yes.
want to show
Yeah,
the point.
yeah.
Here, let's say, whatever. Maybe, not sure how to even get there. Something like this. How do you even get there? How do you get to this position? Because that's the position that I'm seeing on the board. More or less the structure. The knight is on e5.
Yes.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
We're going to see in half an hour.
Right. All right. So that was board number 6. Let's continue to observe. My suggestion, Angelika, is that we continue to observe very quickly the next 2 boards. Because there's one board I'm quite interested in.
Okay.
And then make a first break and come back and see if action has moved on top boards.
Absolutely.
All right. Board number 7.
Okay.
Let me see if I can on the camera.
We can see that.
Yeah. This is pretty common for
This
chess
is
players.
typical.
Yeah. Oh wow, he's really nervous.
Maybe zoom out a little bit just to see full legs.
Right. Sometimes players feel this adrenaline rush. And they try to motivate themselves, you know. So the player with white, Nico Jason, is playing against Hare Krishnan.
Nan.
The player I think
Yes.
we're following.
We had him
Some
here
games.
for the interview for the Beauty Awards. He was live on the stream. We were having brief
Alright.
interview in one of the rounds.
All right.
And his opponent actually was submitting the games because I remember his games also beautiful, but didn't win an award.
Yeah, there was quite a bit competition. I
Yes.
think I've. Oh wait, that's the game. Okay, I thought the live board is the wrong one. Oh, that's the game.
Okay, so we
Uh-huh.
have.
As far as I know, this is not very good for black. Okay, let me tell you the backstory here. So,
Okay.
the classical Catalan.
Yes.
There you go.
That's classical Catalan.
So, black has number of choices. He can take, he can give you a check, he can play c6, which maybe in this occasion doesn't really concern us, but most important are d6 and c4, bishop b4, leading to some very interesting games. So, why White is doing this? Why White is starting with knight f3, bishop g2, castle, and playing d4? He's avoiding these lines. Because if now black plays short castle after c4, this is not the same. This is not the same because once again, if you go back, the classical Catalan, if I may, there are
So
some lines when black keeps the
take-
bishop in effect.
Yeah.
Yeah?
There is an immediate take. So that's why White is trying to avoid those lines, yeah?
That's right. It's quite fashionable line today. So b5, this is like trying to punish White for not playing c4. And this b5 idea, it's been around in many, many lines. It's also in Queen's Indian lines, in the Reti, knight f3, knight f6, g3, black plays b5. So fairly common theme. Anyway, so the idea of b5 is to discourage White to play c4. And if black plays bishop b7, knight e7, and then pushes c5, black is, again, very happy.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
that's very logical. A4, trying to asset pawn. Okay, how are you going to be protected? Because a6 is not possible.
right,
and-
that's the top choice of engine, c4. This is bad, I guess. Although, maybe it is playable, I'm not really sure.
Knight d5, yeah.
Yeah, knight e5, there may be immediate capture, maybe e4, I
Yeah, it looks.
don't remember.
Yeah, it looks risky.
Right. So c4 takes, and actually look at this knight takes and c3. And I remember my first thoughts when I saw this position for the first time. You know what I thought, Angelica? That black has excellent chances to take over the game. Without engine. I remember. Because this weakness on b4.
Yeah, because the problem is you cannot take with the b pawn, right? Because there is, for example, bishop a6 and there is no c4.
I mean, you can take, but it's not very ambitious. You can.
Yeah.
It's not really bad, but it's just not very ambitious.
Yes.
Now, what I'm saying is that knight x on c3 is the engine's choice. And White very quickly develops the pieces, and the b4 weakness, this is actually nothing, according to Stockfish.
I don't think it's nothing. It looks like,
Stockfish.
yeah.
It's going to tell you a lot of things about this position.
Yeah, the problem is if you're picking up the moves from the edge, and you have to also realize you're going to continue playing the game you're on your own yourself, so you're not always going to have it have the support, during the game. So that's why maybe sometimes when you're not sure about some positional ideas which your opponent might introduce in the position, and for example, like here, something like a5, knight a6, knight b4, I don't know. Let's say trying to fight for the b4 square, and potentially rook could come to b8, and b pawn could be a weakness, yeah?
As it happens, I know the best lines of the engine here. So I don't remember the order of the moves.
Okay.
But I think it was like this. Okay, short castle probably. Bishop indeed goes to c4. f4, my apologies. And now the key idea here is this move. That's what I remember. a5, queen a4, and gain space. So even if black plays something like knight c6, somehow white is better here. Rook c1, knight b5, even if you have the center, I have...
Bishop d7, I don't know.
Whatever. I mean, I don't remember specifically this line.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right, that this idea of a5, queen a4, I think it was even like this, Angelica. I think it was knight c3, maybe even a5 right away. And let's say you will play... What do you play? Something like c5? Sorry, not knight c6, of course. c5? And there were ideas like bishop f4, knight... Yeah, but I don't recall. You have to pardon me. Maybe even a6. And engine would give here solid advantage to white. That I remember for sure.
But there are always some ideas like to take on d4 and push e5 sometimes, yeah, for black. So I don't know, like if giving up the center, being better after giving up the
You're
center.
not arguing with me.
Yeah,
I know.
Right?
Like, I'm just saying what I've remembered from this. But then again, if you ask me what was the most accurate order in the moves, that I don't remember. But it was this early a5, queen a4. This I remember for sure.
But
okay, doesn't matter.
But the idea of white then should be to push for e4, or what should be an idea? To bring the knight to e5, then rook e1?
a5?
No, generally the idea for white.
I mean, white very quickly plays bishop
Yes.
e4, a5, knight e5. And yeah, I think somewhere it was e4.
e4.
So we got here bishop f4, c5, rook c1, and bishop e7. So white did not play a5. I think that this is good news for black.
Black can play a5, but also not yet playing because b5 square also could be a weakness. Knight b5 is a big...
But you don't need to do this anymore,
Yes.
right? I mean, b4 square is yours.
Yes, because rook c1 is played, yeah. So now the question is... if something like knight a6 is any good, knight a6,
I'll just say this, Angelica.
or knight d7.
If I was playing b5, I would do this against somebody who doesn't know theory really well. I mean, b5 is something I would fire out as a surprise weapon, because if I know my opponent expects that I play this line, and he is prepared with Stockfish, I would never go here, unless I would have some groundbreaking new idea, which Stockfish didn't help my opponent to prepare.
I mean, maybe white is not ready for it. Maybe it's the first or a few times when the Hare Krishnan was playing it, so we don't know this. Maybe it was indeed tried as a surprise weapon against white. I think actually he's looking to the camera, or like almost to the camera.
Why this camera is looking at me right now? I'm not sure he noticed. Because, I mean, this camera, it looks the same, right? Both ways.
Yes, it looks the same.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move to the next board.
Yeah, so board number 8, Georg Seul against Nikita Meshkov, my countryman. My teammate in the national team of Latvia. I just want to see how he's doing, because Nikita has been suffering in tournament. How well is he doing? Not really well, right? 6 points?
Yeah, he's having 5.5. Actually, he's being even put up, so he's the best. He has the best rating among the ones with 5.5 points, and his opponent Georg Seul is having 6 points, but he's like the lowest rated with 6 points.
Actually, we have a pretty nice view here on
Yeah.
the players. So thanks again to the organizers for providing these great cameras.
Indeed.
Nikita recently has had a not very successful streak, and he's a bit struggling to regain his form because early June we went to Canada. 3 Latvian grandmasters, me, Nikita Meshkov, and Tom Kantans. We are also at the core of the national team of Latvia. And also Nikita, including and me, we had bad result. So he's suffering a bit. He lost some rating points. Also here in Biel, he has lost something like 10 points already, right? Not really going so well. But he's a fighter, you know. I know his philosophy. He just treats things okay. So I'm not doing great. Fine.
Yeah, for
He
now
enjoys Biel, I know
minus
this.
13 for now, but
Right.
yeah.
He came here together with his friend Danil Yufa from Russia. They're good friends. So what do we have here? Rossalino. Well, yeah, of course he plays for Black. He's a big fan of the.
We have
Super
actually
96.
Pranav Anand, I think, on the footage.
What?
I think this is Pranav Anand, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, he just came very close to the camera.
Oh, in front of the camera.
Yes, he was just,
I
and
understand.
camera focused on him.
Okay.
Okay, so E4.
Yeah, Rossalino.
Yeah, okay.
Aha, G6. I thought Nikita recently plays E6, so he decided to surprise his opponent. D takes. This was a big topic in the World Championship match, Carlsen Corona. H3, stopping bishop G4. All of this is known. Whoa,
Wow, knight H5, what a move.
knight H5. Wait, knight H5. How do I know this move? I think Nikita once told me about this. Some new idea. But what he told me, I really don't remember.
Okay, so
So
now
the big idea is to play E5 early. Bishop G7, E5. I don't remember. You have to pardon me. What was the right continuation for white? Maybe it was Queen C7, E5, like this. Because normally this is not how Black plays. Black plays Bishop G7 castle, and then somehow tries to push E5.
it's very interesting opening. We can see actually it's working because as we can see, the German player has 36 minutes right now.
Right.
Knight H5.
Queen C7. So the big idea here is if this is indeed allowed to be played, let's say white plays knight C3, E5. Black immediately gets in perfectly the position he wants, because that's what he wants, knight H5, E5. So that white has no active breakthroughs. And if white insists, let's say bishop E3, knight E2, you still see he has difficulties to play this F4. And then black at some point takes over the game because white has no breaks, he has no breakthroughs, no active pawn play. And when you have no active pawn play, that might be a problem.
You might get indeed a problem. And we had E5.
So that's why white plays E5 and stops
that's
this.
why knight E.
Yeah, this is smart.
Okay, white realized what the idea of black is and trying to stop. And now knight dance, knight tango is starting.
Right. The position transposes to a line which I could maybe show you briefly. There's this popular line, old line. Knight f6, here, here, here. Knight c7, takes, takes, here, here. Pardon me for doing this very quickly, but I just want to get to the point. Knight e6, here, here. That's more or less the same. So we got a different route for the knight. In the game, he played knight h5, knight g7, knight e6. Here it was knight f6, knight e5, knight e7, knight e6. Doesn't really change what's happening. And if he go to the final position, what normally black wants, he wants to play knight e4, force a trade, if he can do that, play c5, and position the bishop on b7.
But also black allowed the trade of the bishops, so I don't know if it's good or bad thing, you know, because compared to the position you were showing, there was already bishop on g7, black was ready to castle, but in this position, due to this knight g7, there was this idea of bishop h6 and trade the bishops, and basically saying you're not going to castle short.
Right. Maybe long castle is all right, so I would not be surprised if I play something like a4, a5, you know, to remind, hello, I'm still here.
Yeah, that's the good point, yeah. For now, king is safe, of course, on e8, but you don't want to keep it there like for the game for the long time. I think, yeah, that bishop g7 and...
I'm not even sure if Nikita here is so happy with black, because if you're playing against a low-rated opponent, and he is playing final round of the tournament, you're looking for a big fight.
Yeah.
And here doesn't really feel it's a big fight. Okay, his position is all right, but I mean, he still needs to win this game, I guess. So, but okay, I mean, it's a long game, of course. I'm not sure what's... Maybe I can zoom in a little bit before I zoom out to the top boards. This is how far the camera can actually zoom in. Look at this. Pretty amazing.
The king is all the way on g7. So that I think that black played f6, yeah? f6, traded the pawns, king went to g7. So yeah, king is located on the g7 right now.
Yeah.
No, not f6. F6,
Yeah, I'm just f6 like this.
Yeah.
F6 is also a typical maneuver.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave this game alone for the time being, and whoo, there you go.
I don't know if the opponent, if the players can see that.
All right, so we jump back to the leader board, but I think that what we're going to do right now, we need a break, our first scheduled break. So hope you're not going anywhere and that you're enjoying the coverage. If you have any questions or insights, please write in the chat. We're reading what you're saying there. Thank you for your positive feedback. So let's make it something like, how long do we need? Something like 15 minutes. Yeah, I think it's fair.
Decent.
Decent. Do we show this interview we have recorded?
We have some interview. I think one is in German. I don't know if we have German fans or we have
could
some
show
English.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, we could show you. Maybe then let's make it, I think it was something like 60 minutes, then make it 60 minutes break, 1 minute more. Angelika, maybe you can tell something about those beauty awards.
So we had, of course, mainly coverage of Grandmaster Triathlon, but in meantime, many people here in Biel, in this beautiful hall, are playing also the open tournaments, and they are submitting their games in the different tournaments, in the open tournament master, in the open tournament amateur, and main tournament. In case they played some beautiful games or had some combinations which they enjoyed very much, maybe some mating attack, and they uploaded their games, they sent them to us and submitted for the Beauty Awards. And we had poll on social media every day. Today, of course, there will be no poll because it's the last round. For the last round, there was no Beauty Award because all the players, or most of them, leaving today or tomorrow early morning. So yeah, but besides that, we had for every round the Beauty Awards for all 3 tournaments, and players are getting nice prizes, winners and the losers, which I find really nice. So yeah, I don't know which round interview we're going to watch, but I think it was a nice game.
All right, don't go anywhere, take some refreshments. We're going to see you in a moment, but enjoy the interview. It's going to be in German language. Still, the moves are the same, and you can appreciate the beauty that was played here. See you very soon.
And we are back with the Beauty Awards of the round number 8. We're going to have this interview in German language. I hope you are going still to understand what's happening in the game. Ich habe hier mit mir Ernst Linder. Der hat in 8. Runde die Beauty Awards gewonnen in ATO-Turnier. Ich gratuliere Sie ganz herzlich.
Dankeschön.
Und ich bitte Sie, wahrscheinlich können Sie durch die Partie gehen und ein bisschen Ihre Ideen zeigen, was so alles passiert ist.
Ja, ich kann das mal probieren. Das ist das erste Mal, aber ja. Ich kann das mal
Okay.
probieren, ja.
Okay, Sie haben
Das ist
D4 gespielt.
Ja, das ist meine Eröffnung, die ich meistens mache. Ich hoffe immer, dass der Gegner dann auch D5 spielt. Und da bin ich richtig zu Hause. Und ja, das ist das klassische.
Nein, Sie können auch die Züge anfassen, dann geht's die Partie.
Ja.
Also Sie können auch so. Was war dieser Zug A3?
Die Idee ist, dass ich dann die Fesselung, wegen der Fesselung hier auf B4 habe ich zur Vorsicht, ich weiß, es ist nicht ganz Theorie, aber mache ich
Aber das ist eine
üblich,
Überraschung.
Ja, genau, ja. Und,
Okay.
ja, genau, ein bisschen Überraschung, ja. Und dann,
Genau, so ganz normal, also
ja,
Entwicklung, ja, ganz normal.
Die Springerfesselung, ich habe zwar gesehen, dann bei der Analyse wäre dann, hat es mir dann auf F4 angezeigt und ja, genau.
Genau, jetzt ganz normal Entwicklung.
Jawohl, es ist ein bisschen defensiver so, das ist mehr mein Spiel als voller Angriff so. Und ja, exakt, ja.
Genau.
Alles soweit normal noch.
Ja, alles normal.
Jawohl. Ja.
Genau, also damit der Läufer dann.
Ja, die Idee, dass ich dann mit dem Läufer nach hinten kann, wenn ich dazu komme. Ich habe das gehofft und die Chance habe ich dann genommen, und er diesen Turm gespielt hat, habe ich sofort den hierher gespielt. Das ist nicht so, dass ich dann auch diese Diagonale kontrollieren kann, und wenn er hier, dass es hier, ja, schlecht wäre für ihn wahrscheinlich, wenn er das gespielt. Das ist die Vorbereitung auf C5. Habe ich das verhindert, dass er nicht direkt C5 spielen kann. Und er vorbereitet das wieder vor. Und da hatte ich ziemlich lange überlegt, was mache ich mit dem, oder? Und habe mich dann für den entschieden, also C3.
Also erstmal war die Rochade. Erstmal die Rochade und dann C3 hier. Ja, so war es.
Richtig, genau, ja. Genau.
Und dann C4.
Und dann hat er die Möglichkeit zu tauschen, aber er spielte dann, ist aber nicht besser gewesen, habe ich dann gemerkt. Spielte dann den Läufer hier hin und dann kam wieder das C6. Und dann hatte ich im Zentrum Gelegenheit vorzustoßen, spielte E4. Gibt es diesen Abtausch. So, und da bin ich immer noch ein bisschen, stehe ich noch gut.
Ja. Und hier war so Zug F5.
Ja, den habe ich. Der Computer hat zwar auch den gespielt.
Ach so.
Zuerst dachte ich, der sei nicht so gut, aber hat sich dann doch als gut herausgestellt.
Also einziger Zug, also muss man
war
hier
eigentlich
spielen.
der richtige Zug, den er gemacht hat.
Ja,
Jetzt
also man
ist der hier schwach.
genau,
halt.
ja.
Ja.
Und jetzt kommt die Dame.
Ja.
Okay, ganz normale Züge, also ich finde.
Der war den habe ich sofort durch ihn gezogen, habe ich gedacht, der war nicht so gut. Weiß zwar nicht.
Wahrscheinlich mit anderen, oder?
Ja, vielleicht wäre der ein bisschen besser gewesen, ich weiß nicht, zeigt es irgendwo die.
Nein, hier zeigt es nicht, aber.
Ja.
Aber ja, wahrscheinlich
egal.
mit dem.
Es war nicht so schlimm, aber vor allem, ich kann dann diese Linie nicht mehr kontrollieren, wenn ich den darüber habe.
Ja,
das ist
genau.
sicher nicht so gut.
Der hat dann.
Dann kommt er wieder runter und das Problem war immer dieser Bauer, der war ja da so schwach, wenn er da zu jeder Zeit konnte, wenn ich nicht aufpasse, kann er den schlagen.
Das war ein Problem,
da musste ich sehr vorsichtig sein. Ja. Und jawohl, das ist soweit gut, alles.
Was war
Der
Vorbereitung?
war auch nicht so, ja, ein schwächerer Zug. Kommt er wieder, jawohl.
Er hat einfach wiederholt, hin und her gespielt.
Ja, er hat einfach hin und her, genau.
Wahrscheinlich wollte er Remis.
Ja, ja, er hat mir dann auch, ich habe das auf meinem Blatt nicht notiert, er hat mir dann Römi geboten, aber noch nicht jetzt. Ja, jetzt kommt der. Und das ist dann natürlich, jetzt geht's los. Oder
Jetzt
hier.
geht's los, endlich.
Ja, ja da hatte ich Mühe, weil hier steht er ein bisschen besser.
Ja.
Jetzt steht er besser und da musste ich lange überlegen, wie ich aus dem Schlamassel rauskomme. Oder? Und,
Genau, also langsam.
ja, der war gut, oder? Der Dame auch noch darüber. Das wollte ich verhindern mit
kontrollieren,
dem.
ja.
Ich glaube, der war richtig gewesen. Ja.
Jetzt kommt der andere Turm.
Jawohl, jetzt. Jawohl,
Jetzt muss man
hier,
das
das
spielen,
wäre
genau.
gut, man konnte auch hier hin, aber ich habe mich für den entschieden.
Genau, ja.
Und das war doch gut. Und jetzt kommt, glaube ich, jetzt kommt genau noch Dame. Und das war natürlich dann der volle Angriff jetzt. Und da musste ich mir lange überlegen. Der wäre auch nicht gegangen also wäre gegangen, Springer auf F3, aber ich dachte, es könnte da, ich habe es nicht gesehen, was alles genau. Die Zeit war dann auch, ich musste vorwärts machen und entschied mich dann eben für diesen. Aber da war ich auch nicht ganz sicher, wo das hinführt.
Ja,
aber
wenn man die Bauer vor dem König zieht, muss man vorsichtig sein.
Es war gar nicht so schlecht gewesen dann. Und das war sein, nein, noch nicht. Jetzt kommt genau Verdoppelung und
Jetzt kommt Läufer.
jawohl, und jetzt, das war sein Fehler, oder? Jetzt kommt Queen F2 hier. Wenn er wegzieht, fällt der Läufer. Und da hat er, genau, das war entscheidend, da kam ich jetzt in Vorteil hier. Schlag, genau. Nein, jetzt hat er den Läufer.
H5 hat er gespielt.
Ja, genau, H5. Ja.
Dann geschlagen.
Jawohl.
Und dann Läufer kam zurück.
Jawohl, genau. Und jetzt hier. Jawohl. Jawohl.
Und jetzt getauscht auf G4. Ja.
Und hier dachte ich mir jetzt, ich habe jetzt zwei Leichtfiguren gegen
Gegen Turm.
Turm, ja. Genau. Und ja, den musste ich nehmen.
Ja.
Und jetzt war mein Plan, natürlich die Dame irgendwann zu tauschen, weil ja, ich war immer noch hier, mit der Bauer war einfach schwach noch immer.
Und manchmal kommt die Dame hier.
Ich habe den Läufer hier stehen lassen wegen diesem Schach, oder? Das war sehr gefährlich.
Okay, Dame H7.
Jawohl.
Und jetzt kommt der Springer im Spiel.
Jawohl, der war, da hier ist er jetzt ziemlich unter Druck und ich habe jetzt gesehen, jetzt kam er hier, glaube ich, ist das richtig? Und hier müsste ich eigentlich jetzt das wäre der schnelle Sieg gewesen wahrscheinlich.
Ja, genau.
Das habe ich verpasst, das habe ich nicht gesehen, den kann ich so spielen und das wäre sehr unangenehm für ihn, oder?
Aber trotzdem, man kam zurück.
War wieder zurück und hier hat der Römi geboten. Ich weiß nicht,
Hier,
was
weil
notiert. Es war, glaube ich, nicht notiert.
Sie haben wiederholt und deswegen hat er gedacht, man möchte Remis.
Genau.
Nein, keine Remis.
Dann habe ich gesagt, nein, ich stehe da ein bisschen besser, ich probiere das mal.
Okay, König geht wieder. Und hier Dame.
Jetzt wollte ich die Dame unbedingt wegen dem, dass ich den Läufer frei bekomme, dass ich das nicht noch länger muss so stehen lassen.
Genau. Also jetzt kommt, warte, was war das? Turm
Turm H8, genau. Turm H8 wurde gespielt, ja.
Jawohl, jetzt kommt.
Und verteidigt.
Jawohl. Jawohl, und hier wollte ich auch Läufer tauschen, aber dachte, dass er das nicht eingeht, oder? Ich wollte dann mit wirklich 2 Figuren weiterspielen gegen den Turm, aber er tauschte ihn ab und das gefiel mir eigentlich.
Ja, genau.
Das gefiel mir, aber trotzdem, dieser Punkt war eigentlich, die 2 Bauern waren einfach schwach, ich komme nicht so.
Aber
Und
jetzt
der war natürlich,
sehr gut,
zuerst habe ich ihn nicht gerade gesehen, ich dachte zuerst,
wie drehte man,
zuerst gerade wieder sowas, oder? Aber dann sah ich noch, ich muss den spielen, dann kann ich hier mit Läufer spielen. Und das war wirklich gut. Oder? So kann ich diese 2 Bauern im Moment
und jetzt kommt der
sichern,
Läufer.
oder? Ja, genau. Ja. Das war wirklich, ja. Jetzt ist natürlich...
Ja, dieser Bauer ist weg, der ist schwach, ja.
Ja, der ist jetzt schwach.
Turm G1.
Ja.
König hier. So.
Jawohl. Und hier hat er eben wieder ein bisschen mehr. Ich habe es nicht so genau gut geschaut, aber es war ein sehr schwieriges Endspiel. Und die Zeit war dann wirklich langsam knapp. Wir waren in der zweiten Zeit. Ja. Und jetzt kam es eben dann. Genau, jetzt kommt er dann eben auf diesen Bauern los. Das ist eben, und da dachte ich mir, den verliere ich so oder so, oder? Den kann ich nicht halten, den dann auch nicht. Und dann jetzt muss ich schauen, dass ich hier forcieren kann und dass ich hier einen Freibauer bekomme, mit Tempo einfach, oder? Ich sah, dass diese verloren gehen, die kann ich irgendwie nicht mehr halten.
Das
oder?
Problem ist, dass er kann ich jetzt nicht schlagen, ja?
Nein, es gibt noch
genau.
Das war auch noch sein Handicap, wenn er schlägt, dann kommt Spiel.
Genau.
Ja, das war natürlich fatal. Das hat er aber gesehen, oder?
Deswegen hat er König D5 gespielt, jetzt kommt Schach.
Das war auch stark noch, er hat die Felder nicht mehr und jetzt muss er runterkommen. Jawohl, jetzt kann ich... Ja, der war auch... Jetzt eben hier, das war ziemlich heftig, stressvoll, sag ich mal.
Aber jetzt kommt der Springer.
Ja, ist gut dort. Also jetzt kann ich eben...
Jetzt Schach, jetzt
jawohl,
verliert man den Bauer.
Zuerst, jawohl, jetzt zuerst der. Jawohl.
Jetzt nimmt man den Bauer und...
Ja, jetzt kommt er hier und jetzt ist es eine Tempofrage, oder? Und ich muss schauen, dass ich den erwische, oder?
Und hier?
Das war ein Schlüsselpunkt, oder? Wenn ich den nicht schlage, dann wird es knapp, oder?
Ja, genau.
Also,
und hier nach dem Turm A8.
Ja, das war natürlich super. Mein Springer stand genau richtig, oder?
Sehr interessante Partie.
Ja.
Ich wollte fragen, wie viele Punkte Sie jetzt haben im ATO?
4,5 Punkte.
4,5?
Ja,
okay.
Ja.
Und sind Sie zufrieden mit, wie Sie spielen?
Ich bin eigentlich zufrieden, aber habe 2 Partien nicht gut gespielt, wo ich verloren habe. Eine habe ich aber mit Römik retten können, also es war eine dritte, eigentlich verloren mit 4 Bauern minus. Ich spielte weiter, eigentlich aussichtslos und brach es fertig, dieses Römi zu haben. Er verlor dann alle Bauern schlussendlich. Die waren vorgeschoben, 2 Bauern zum Umwandeln und er konnte sie nicht, er machte so einen groben Fehler dann. Und dann fielen 2 Bauern und ich konnte die Partie auch Römi halten.
Und wohnen Sie in der Schweiz? Oder?
In der Schweiz,
Wo wohnen Sie
Linden.
Hier? In Linden, okay.
Ja.
Und wie viel Mal waren Sie schon hier in Biel? Haben Sie schon
Das war
gespielt?
das erste Mal.
Erstes Mal?
Ja, ich bin jetzt neu pensioniert.
Und jetzt hat man Zeit für Schach?
Jetzt habe ich Zeit, genau, ja.
Okay, vielen, vielen Dank. Noch einmal herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Ja, bitteschön.
Hier ist ein Geschenk für Sie von Biel Chess Festival.
Dankeschön.
Vielen Dank.
We are back, dear viewers. We just had the interview with one of Virus Solo. Just a second.
1, 2, yeah.
All right. I hope you can hear us just fine. But we just had our interview with one of the players in the Beauty Awards, although it was in German. I hope you understood it. There's a very popular request from the chat to check the game of Eric Rosen, and I think this is what